Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I'm in here from the Block Runner Metazone, Rovi and Mscribe, and today we got Ordinal updates.
Let's go, dude.
Not Rune. We're not Rune runners anymore.
Well, we will be in a couple of days, a few days, but right now this is the last Ordinal takeover pre-halving. Right?
That's right, yeah.
And then the next video we'll put out is probably like the last DMT update pre-halving, and then after that, probably the last pre-rune.
I'm already celebrating.
I can tell. I can feel
Are you excited? You feel the festivities?
I can feel the excitement oozing from your pores, dude. You've never been more excited about anything ever. I know it.
Well, this happens once every 4 years, dude. This is a momentous occasion.
Well, what did you do last time this happened?
World Cup happens every 4 years.
Yes.
The Olympics.
True.
World Cup is way more interesting than the Olympics, in my opinion.
Okay, well, what about this?
And then Bitcoin, dude.
This one tops them all, right?
For sure.
Okay, hence the shirt. So halving day is not today. So let's get, how far are we from the actual halving day?
Yeah.
And if you can't explain, for people who might not know what this day actually represents.
You guys don't know what the halving is?
Some people actually have lives.
Some people still call it halving. That's boring.
Yeah, I call it the halving.
Yeah, I've always called it the halving.
That's because we're children, dude. That's what fuck it. But it's actually Bitcoin halving.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Because it's very specific.
Yes.
Something is actually being halved.
Yeah. So if you remember in Blockchain 101 that we have miners basically mining Bitcoin, right, through a cryptographic process. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah, that's pretty complicated.
But every 4 years, there's an event called halving where the rewards for mining a Bitcoin gets halved. That's why it's called halving.
Okay.
Right. And so at the very beginning, when Bitcoin started, it was at 50 Bitcoin. That's every time you mine a block, you get 50 Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then a halving occurs every 210,000 blocks, roughly every 4 years.
Okay.
And so now we're at the fourth halving in 3 days, 4 hours.
So literally the fourth halve slice.
Yeah. And
of the
so
Bitcoin pie.
Today we have 6.25 Bitcoin being mined per block.
For 3 more days.
For 3 more days. And then it's going to be 3.125.
Damn.
And so
why be a miner, dude? There's Bitcoin. Yeah, there's not even that much Bitcoin to slurp, dude. Why would I even waste my time?
Well, because the theory is that eventually the demand increases as time continues, and therefore
supply decrease, therefore price go up.
Price go up, yeah.
Number go up. So if you're wondering why Bitcoin always seems to be maintain its presence in culture and finance discussions and now ETF support, it's because of the clever economic programming by Satoshi Nakamoto all the way back in 2009, right? It was a very well thought out, I guess, tokenomics model to incentivize this computational aggregate system, right?
Yeah,
Oops, let me get rid of that. So it works. It's working very powerfully, right? So 3 days away, I mean, nothing's really going to happen. Actually, at this time, a lot of things are going to happen.
Yeah, this time,
Typically, things don't really happen around the halving.
Typically is dumping only.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of the narrative of Bitcoin, subsidy is going to be cut in half. But this time around, there's so much more shit happening on Bitcoin, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Yep. All right, so let's look at the first tweet here. So we have, I will send 100K worth of runes from runic miners to everyone after having just dropped your Ordinal wallet. And so now we're back to rune running, dude.
Yeah, I mean, people are already throwing major bids, so we don't have those tweets or whatever, but I think I heard Trevor wanted to offer $1 million for the halving block.
Yeah.
And then Rare Sat Society chimed in with I'll put in $5 million for this block.
You know what we should do? We should put in $10 million for that block.
With all of our extensive treasury, dude. We're so stacked on cash, we could just make these plays. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
So the idea is, why is this block worth so much money now, all of a sudden?
Well, because this is the first block where you can etch the name of your rune token.
Okay, so there's runes, right? The rune protocol deployment is active right at this block height.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's been hyping up. That's what we've been talking about the last couple of months. So yeah, you get if you own that or if you mine that block, you get exclusive etching rights, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is a big deal because, theoretically these first deployments are going to have, some provenance associated to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's high value in those tokens. And then there's the rare sat, right?
Yeah, correct.
I think it's an epic sat.
Yeah.
So there's only 3 that exist right now, and the 4th one's coming in that block.
And I think the 3 that exist are not even in circulation.
Where do you think that? Oh, they're probably like all in Binance's like
somewhere
storage.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. All in CZ's fucking closet, whatever. But the fourth one's coming, so yeah, there's quite the. People are expecting like literal war for this block.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just a regular guy thinking that you're gonna get into the first block here by just like going to some inscription platform, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna do it.
That's true.
It's just not gonna happen. So
okay, so we're all gonna be in about 3 days from now. It'll be roughly Friday afternoon, our time zone, when all this goes down. So I don't think we'll be live streaming. Maybe there's a small possibility we'll already rejected that idea.
Negative.
I wish we would, so we could be sitting here watching this block together. No,
you're the one so uneventful, dude.
Oh, you're the one wearing the shirt, dude.
Yeah, but it's a shirt.
Okay, whatever. All right, well then everybody like enjoy your halving, dude. Whenever it happens, you know?
Yeah,
we'll talk about it the next following days.
All right, so we're looking at an empty tweet here because we wanted to talk about a tweet by who was it? It's Karma Runestone.
Jason Fang.
Yeah, Karma Stone.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this story broke out yesterday, but since then this tweet has been deleted, so we can't really like show you guys. But essentially, it was just like an out of context tweet that was just posted. 30,000 Karma stones. They look very similar to rune stones, and the mint price announced was $1,000 per stone, equating to $30 million. Like fundraise attempt.
Yeah, oil money.
Yeah, fiat, literally. Yeah. It wasn't even like a BTC value. It was like $1,000 fiat, please.
Yeah.
Dollar sign.
Yeah.
It is oil money. So, yeah, I wish we had this tweet so we can go through like the outrage. Yeah. That's really what made this interesting.
Yeah, it's just funny that they're trying to raise money for all kinds of reasons. One of them is to airdrop some tokens, and airdropping tokens is just not sustainable in any way. And it's just not the mechanism that's going to persist very long on Bitcoin, just because not everybody has this mechanism, and it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
And then we have other actors raising, $400 million, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. The community is just like, they backlash this, but then someone else does something even more egregious successfully, and it's like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, every time, I guess specifically in this NFT realm, it's been like an egregious like stepping stone. Like the Node Monkeys did it, the Quantum Cats did it. People get vitriolic, whenever they see like attempts to extract liquidity, right? And
but they were also kind of vitriolic too for like Node Monkeys and all that. People hated it.
That's what I mean.
But it's still.
But then they end up becoming blue chips after the fact.
Right.
So I was kind of hoping like Jason Fang, even though he was getting tremendous backlash, probably like
follow through with it.
Yeah, probably deservingly, because that's quite the ask. But then just follow through with it though, like Node Monkeys did.
Yeah.
Quantum Cats did, like whatever, dude. We're gonna take your money and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
And then in those cases, people do like it. And now they're held in high regard. These are the Grails of Bitcoin. But at the time, they were like evil.
Right.
Like, how dare you take my money?
Right.
Everything should be free and fair. So again, should have followed through with it just to kind of like add another data point and see what actually happens as a result. It probably would have been like even more valuable than Runestone or something if you would have actually dropped it.
Yeah, because everything is going to be an experiment, right? Nobody knows exactly what the right path is, so you gotta try these things out. So,
but nonetheless, the reason why we incorporated it here, because in my opinion, that was like peak pre-rune mania. Like that was like an indicator, like just trying to capitalize on the pre-rune narrative to extract that much amount of capital from the space. Yeah, this whole pre-rune stuff, I mean, luckily it's ending in a couple of days. So at this point, it's going to be post-rune stuff, and we're going to actually see which of these projects actually have the technical know-how to deliver anything.
Oh, yeah.
Anything.
Almost none.
Right, that's what we're waiting for.
Or of any sustainability, almost none.
Even anything. If they can even figure out how to like etch or like just do anything. I don't know, we'll see. We don't know.
I'm sure we'll see some practical etching, but I mean, it's just another coin does nothing. All right, so Nakamoto, we got a Nakamoto release on Stacks here.
Yeah, that's another thing I guess that's going to capture some narrative momentum after this happening. It's not just runes, right? It's the layer 2 space. I think what's going to happen on runes is going to reinvigorate the interest in like, layer 2 actors.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the fees are going to be outrageous.
Yeah, and Stacks is interesting because they've been around like since 2016 or something like that.
Yeah, they have like they're the only ones who get to walk around with that like accolade.
Yeah.
Right? We're the pre-ordinal layer 2 solution, right?
Yeah.
The rest of you guys came after the hype. We were here building pre-hype. So like whether or not the technology is competent, it's to be determined, right? This Nakamoto upgrade is supposed to kind of introduce some much more degen-friendly trading environments and such. So we'll see. That is another to be determined, just like runes, all this stuff.
Yeah, and Stacks has done something interesting. They got some sort of regulatory approval by the SEC a long time ago.
Yeah, just to get their token birthed.
Yeah.
With regulatory compliance, which is, again, another rare accolade.
That's super rare.
So they're definitely walking around with some banger fucking badges and shit, dude. Some prestige badges, They're out there. They're out there with some one of ones for sure.
Yeah.
While the rest of them are, they're dangling the same old stuff. So whether or not the market gives a fuck, we'll find out, dude.
All right, Satoshi Club. Since the start of the year, Stacks TVL has grown from 55 to 187 million. That's a 240% increase. Additionally, a recent shift in mindshare has onboarded 142,000 new accounts in Q1, driving a record number of transactions to the platform.
That's pretty good. This is solid organic growth. This doesn't look like anything nefarious. I don't know, nefarious ain't the right word, but like I guess inorganic. I don't know.
Gamed.
Yeah, how like some of these L2s like to deploy, like very gamey / almost Ponzi-esque onboarding schemes, right? Whether it's like, here's this token up for grabs, you onboard your friends, you get a larger share of tokens if you do that. It sounds very pyramid-esque, right? So nothing like that has been happening on Stacks. This is just, organic adoption, right?
Yeah, and then we have a Layer 1 Foundation update, BRC 2.0 swap module. So finally, we got BRC 20 swapping in the mix.
Yeah, another thing to pay attention. So Runes is going to literally soak a lot of the attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, people out there like Leonidas thinks like that is the only play of the future.
Yeah,
like
memes are the only thing that of value in crypto.
Or whatever. Just like as far as like token protocols, there should only be one. We should just disregard any of the original attempts.
Yeah.
We don't fall in that camp. I think we're still going to pay attention to how, BRC20s evolve, how TAP ecosystem evolves, even CBRC20 and the rest. So whoever is out there like developing
Atomicals.
Especially Atomicals, now they have their own like AVM solution to implement, smart contract functionality to their token protocol. Like all this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
We can't just be all about runes. I know, I get it. So you guys watching this, you guys want to know like the deepest depths of like runes alpha, right?
Yeah.
Like always and forever.
The real runes alpha is what's happening everywhere else.
That's kind of what I'm driving at here. Because like what's that classic Warren Buffett statement? It's like
blood in the streets.
Be greedy when there's blood in the streets.
That's right.
Be fearful. I guess when there's
euphoria,
whatever the opposite of blood in the streets is, when there's like
happiness,
kittens in the streets. That's when you should be fearful, dude. And runes are filled with kittens right now.
Yeah,
the blood is happening outside. Everyone's like hurting, so that's where you should be actually looking for opportunity.
100%, dude.
So this is okay. So we're starting with BRC20. They're evolving, dude. Swap mechanism.
Yeah.
Here comes TAP.
Token and UNAT allow list coming to TAP protocol. No smart contract required, all on L1. So this is what we've been working on with Track. Finally, we're going to be testing this today, actually, and we're going to be testing it publicly today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then finally, we'll talk about the redacted launch here.
Yeah, so there's a reason why we've been working so closely with TAP, because they're so far ahead of the game as far as enabling development.
Yeah.
Developer-friendly token protocols.
Yeah. What we're talking about here is something that has not happened on Bitcoin yet.
And what like the Runes Cabal and like BRC20 is just now starting to like get the theoretical ideas out is like how we can enable this in our protocol. It's been actively being executed on TAP for months now. And we've been developing with it. And somehow people are completely either oblivious of this or ignoring that.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? That is the market. But everybody's like hopeful and wondering, it's like, one day can runes do something? It's like, dude, well, fucking look at TAP and you want to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. it is wild
I would
how
think
people interpret things, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so what this does, it prevents front running, allows the asset sales, and makes cost intensive mining pools obsolete. So this is huge. So basically, you can list art without having to inscribe them all to yourself, and then you can set a price, you can set a limit of mint per wallet, and completely takes out front running.
Okay, next thing, CBRC. You mentioned CBRC20.
Right.
How are they able to implement a layer 1 swap mechanism, dude?
So
probably because again, these guys, they understand.
Yeah, the functionality is required.
Functionality is key.
Yeah.
Right?
And we have another tweet here showing off the platform.
Yeah, this is actually the platform. It's live. There's a whole activities happening here. You know, you can participate in these early days of motoswap, so you can get your share of I think they're called moto tokens, not moto farming, season 0 of moto farming. So yeah, go on over there if you want to contribute to that ecosystem and actually see some swapping on Bitcoin.
Right.
Which is interesting. Seems like everybody's golden goose, right? Who's going to actually become the Uniswap on Bitcoin? Like that's the big DeFi race.
Yeah, but I guess because there's so many fungible token protocols, like you're only swapping within that ecosystem, right? The real key is like swapping outside of that ecosystem, which is way more complex.
Of course.
Because you got to provide liquidity and all this stuff. It's like,
yeah. I mean, that is, So that's another thing is where is true DeFi going to unlock? Is it all going to be sidechain activity? Leveraging, EVM smart contracts and such, which are, tried and true and tested. You can implement pools and features like that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Or we're going to
incentives too.
Yeah. So there's a lot to pay attention to here.
All right, so let's take a look at your tweet, man. Creators are hungry to build on Bitmap content. I know that this because I've been speaking to them. Developers are closer to giving them the tools to feed their creative desires. I know because we are building them. And finally, Bitmap owners want to see their bitmaps come to life with content engaging visitors on their land. So yeah, basically, zig when everyone else is zagging.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think so. Actually, surprisingly, Bitmap hasn't discovered or whatever, hasn't been leveraged for some sort of much of a runes interplay. I know IMSO Chris is out there doing stuff like that, incorporating runes into his virtual stack experience, whatever. But nonetheless, Bitmap is one of those things, an ecosystem to pay attention to, because it's not going to get a lot of attention. It's going to be faded.
Yeah.
But, we're used to that. The metaverse always gets faded.
Yep.
Right. But while runes is in town, that's when you want to be paying attention to who's actually building on the Bitmap space.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this tweet by Sol. It's not obvious what anything should or could be valued at, since the crypto art space is largely based on narratives, amplification, clout, luck, and timing. I'm personally fascinated with the introduction of DMT and leveraging the Bitcoin ledger's immutable data to dictate token supplies that are, at least in part, non-arbitrary and not entirely formulated by human tokenomic designers.
Yeah. So this is DMT.
Yeah.
In case you're unaware, another subsector of ordinals that was deployed a few months ago by us, and an ecosystem's emerging around that. So again, this is not directly tied, or there's no runes interplay here, even though some of these projects are exploring that route. This is all built under the TAP umbrella, the TAP protocol standard, right?
Yeah. So if you haven't heard of DMT before, it's digital matter theory. Look it up on our channel. We talk about it constantly.
Yeah. And a major event is on the horizon, right?
Yeah, that's right. So let's take a look at this tweet. King, DMT's undervalued. I'm okay with that because I want the early believers to be rewarded. People took a while to understand the significance of punks. The same will happen here.
Right on.
So we partnered with King here to launch the balanced mint method on Mscribe.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to mint one of these here in the next couple of days. And so no more front running. You'll be able to set prices. You can deploy this using DMT, all that stuff.
Yeah. So now you have usability and user experiences similarly to what you've already experienced in the broader non-fungible token market space.
Yeah, right? As a matter of fact, if you're watching this today, head over to the Mscribe Discord. We're going to be testing this functionality here in the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we need you to come in and start testing, and perhaps there might be some surprises afoot there.
There definitely will be. So, because we really do need to test out all this infrastructure and, the platform developments. That it was basically a month developing all these different components leading up to this launch.
It was a lot.
It's not just this launch, right? It's setting the precedent for all future UNAT deployers. You want to leverage something where they can like architect their the inception point of their ecosystem. Whether it's art, whether it's metaverse content, it could be anything really. It is a content deployment standard that is non-arbitrary. So it's the first of its kind. It's something if you're getting exhausted with runes or whatever, you're like, man, what else is popping on Bitcoin? I would peek over there to see who else is deploying collections and stuff like that.
Yeah, now we're looking at Danny's tweet here. The ordinals market is focused on runes. However, remember that art on Bitcoin is rare. Many ordinals are valuable without runes. Launching a runes token takes no effort. Creating great art does. The runes protocol itself is art on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I totally agree with this sentiment. It's like, I think the worst thing, if you're like a quality art project on Bitcoin and you're just kind of like deploying a rune token as just trying to jump on that hype train, I feel like you're degrading your value as just pure art in itself, right? There is a class of value just in that.
Yeah.
Which of these projects are just delivering the art for Bitcoin and just purely that? You don't have to even though, figuring out interplay with fungible tokens is interesting, it's like a whole different segment in its own right.
Yeah.
Just keep the art pure. The ones that do that, they don't succumb to the pressures of rune mania.
Yeah.
They're all about their art. That I think there is true value in that for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, we're near the end here. The first ordinals mempool marketplace is here. Every marketplace on Bitcoin got ordinals trading wrong. Why? Nobody took the mempool and block times seriously. And thus nobody created what's long been overdue, a mempool marketplace. We have now taken the first leap, and we're live on Magisat, magisat.io. And so what is a mempool marketplace? A mempool marketplace tracks every buy of an ordinal and makes it available for trading up until that time it's spent in a confirmed transaction. Why would we need that? Aside from the opportunity of finding much cheaper listings that are already pending in transaction initiated by other basic marketplaces, it also offers the RBF tooling to everyone publicly. You can now fight back and reclaim your buy transaction if someone tries to snipe it from you. Wow.
So what's your understanding of this?
So this is like a PvP sniping tool that if someone snipes your partially signed Bitcoin transaction, you can snipe it back. So it's just it's a money game.
So it's a way to remain competitive in the mempool?
Yes. So for example, you could use this, you couldn't use this with Bitmap specifically just because it's being botted at such a high level.
Yeah.
But the idea is if you try to get a Bitmap, a brand new one, and you could see someone just beating your price, you can RBF it, replace by function, and then you can pay more than the next guy.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. So it just opens up this the sniping market to basically everybody.
Yeah.
Who wants equal opportunity, I guess, at these assets, right?
So this replace by fee is a tool now available for everybody.
Cool. All right. Very interesting. So yeah, I think people have been theorizing that this was going to happen at some point. So here it is. It's here.
All right, and finally we're looking at CatVM. There and back again. So they're leveraging OPCat, provides a covenant functionality and also enables Bitcoin script to simulate finite state machines. So they're basically using Bitcoin's embedded functionality to create some sort of logic, very basic logic.
Interesting.
So this allows you to control what happens based on some condition.
Yeah, so I've been hearing a lot of ruffling around this just based on the imagery alone. Of course, this is some precursor to basically another type of attempt at creating a functionable layer to Bitcoin. I don't know if you can add this to the bucket of L2 contributors, L2 initiatives, whatever.
I think so. I think you can do that.
Yeah, because step one involves this, creating the bridging system around all this new design, and implement and roll out some actual functionality as a result. And then what? Of course, the next thing is all right, let's build DeFi here, right? I think I already saw something called Quantum Cat Fi.
Nice.
That can only mean one thing, I think. So there's a whole sign up page here, but for whatever reason, you cannot go there. But it exists. Here it is. The Taproot Wizards, the guys who raised $15 million selling their Quantum Cats.
Yeah.
they're up to something, right? So that money isn't just, they didn't just run off to fucking Bahamas yet.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Not yet.
They're over here trying to implement something of good and participate in this L2 discussion, right? Because, I mean, it's a challenging one. It's going to be a very competitive environment. Everybody has different interpretations as far as like what is a true L2 to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Which ones are just like capitalizing on that narrative hype to just deploy basically pump and dump scam mechanisms.
Yeah.
Shit like this. So it's going to be a forever evolving space.
That reminds me, we should start our own NatCat finance, dude.
NatCat Fi?
Yeah.
What is that going to be?
It's
whatever we want it to be.
Non-arbitrary.
It's world peace, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the puppets.
That's right.
What else is cool besides world peace?
Rainbows.
Rainbows?
Yeah.
I guess, dude. Rainbows for all, dude. Fuck it.
You must hate rainbows, man.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what goes next to world peace, dude? Like,
I don't know.
In your eyes, like, what was the next best thing for humanity besides peace? It's like
AI.
It's like scientific literacy.
Yes. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
It's like
I think if everybody was scientifically literate, you would be able to accomplish a lot more.
We'd actually be headed towards world peace, right?
Exactly.
Damn, dude, that's it. That's the ethos.
That's the step, dude.
Well, I don't know if that meshes with NatCats. It's like NatCats are for
it starts
scientific literacy. But the playbook is in the open now, guys. Whoever wants to build a community, a cult meme around that idea, shit, let us in and we'll join that cult right away.
Yeah, I'd be all in, dude.
Let's do it.
All right, that's it for us. All the links will be in the description. And if we missed anything, let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.